Good morning. It's March the 28th, 2018. Time to kick off another trading day. Hypothetical simulated performance results have certain limitations. In actual performance records, simulated results do not represent actual trading. Also, since the trades have not been executed, the results may have under overcompensated for the impact, if any, of certain market factors such as lack of liquidity. Simulated trading programs in general are also subject to the fact that they're designed with the benefit of hindsight. No representation is being made that any account will or is likely to achieve profit or losses similar to those shown. Well, yesterday afternoon I was pretty well brought to my knees on the production computer because of, I believe, a antivirus program called Avast. That I used to take Avast a long time ago, and all of a sudden it popped back up on the machine on March the 10th, and it's got all these new features, and I didn't turn it on, but I didn't turn it off either. So by yesterday all these new features had totally locked up my machine where I could not open any application, and so we had to go back and restore my software to a point last week, and that only took us about 2 hours to get to that point where we could do that because things were so screwed up. So if Avast sends you a little freebie or something like that to get to try it out, don't do it. Yesterday we had a heavy selling in the FANGs, driven by Facebook, Tesla, and the others. All of them got hit. Amazon, Apple, Google, etc. And Facebook is 37 governors now want to look into how Facebook does and how they do the data, etc. Tesla is a company that has been run on government subsidies. And Tesla does not know how to manufacture automobiles on a massive scale, and it's all coming due right now. So my guess is that Tesla is headed for bankruptcy, and some major market automobile manufacturer is going to pick up the pieces. The technology's pretty good, and take it forward for Tesla from there. So the tendency is we get a trend day, then a pause. And my guess is if the selling doesn't start early in the stock market, we've got ourselves a pause day. We have the Easter holiday, starts on Friday. We have end of week, month, quarter is tomorrow. That all tends to yield a pause day. So if the selling is going to start, restart again today in the indexes, I believe it has to start early. We'll see if that happens. If the Emini is under heavy sell pressure, you just really don't want to be short treasuries. We have the 7-year auction today, which is supportive in and of itself. They can take the market down, they can't break it and move the paper. 5-year auction was characterized as mediocre also. A weak 2-year, mediocre 2-year, 5-year usually gives us a mediocre 7-year. We'll see what we get. So resistance starts at 4 to 8, and I imagine we'll find some selling against 8 up here. So give ourselves a little room. 3 to 7, sell 1. 11 to 15, sell 2. Don't want any part of the short side of the market if the E-mini is selling. On the buy side, supports 28 to the buck. So we'll make buy 1, 28 to the buck. Let them get stops beneath the buck, and then buy 2 will be 21.25. We have news today that can influence the trading. GDP plus 2.7. Deflator plus 2.3. International trade minus 74B. Pending home sales plus 3%. Don't have any idea how that'll go. Housing numbers are up and down. Then we have corporate profits, retail inventories, wholesale inventories. Don't know which of those numbers will be. They don't publish numbers of those. They publish the previous numbers. So the focus will be GDP and the direction of the Emini, in my opinion. I haven't seen anything on the basketball who's favored to win it all, but I would imagine Kansas or Villanova. And I know nothing about basketball. I don't follow it, so those are wags. Be about as good as you could get, in my opinion, on basketball. Who's going to beat who? Definitely uninformed. Okay, 46 to 04. 1. Sell 7 to 11. Sell 1. 15 to 19, sell 2. On the buy side, 20 to 24, number 1. 13 to 17, buy 1. 5 to 9, buy 2. Gold was up a little bit. We didn't see a lot of buying yesterday in gold, even with the selling in the stock market. Came down 35, 37, held up right here. So we've got buyers 35 to 40, and we definitely have a seller 50 to 55. And that's a $20 range right there that we're looking at. And when gold calms down, that's usually what we play with, $20 range. On the outside would be a $50 range that we see on the monthlies, the F1 screen. So 43.45, sell 1. 48.50, sell 2. We rejected our prices below 38, so we'll make 36.38, buy 1. 30.32, buy 2. I tell you, more and more of this story comes out with Russian interference in our elections. Their footprint and fingerprints are just everywhere, and it's not that they favor a particular candidate or not. It's just to create chaos and instability and distrust. And when you read about what was known about who was doing it, and it started in 2014, and nothing was done about it by our government, it really kind of makes you scratch your head. You know, what are you doing there? What's the purpose of government, etc.? 24.90 to 25 even, sell 1. 25.24, sell 2. 24.50, buy 1. 25 to 35, buy 2. Pretty much where we were last night. Crude oil. Remember yesterday we talked about somebody must know that we're going to have a build in the APIs in crude, and that's exactly what happened last night. Crude oil built 5.2, countered by gasoline, which drew 5.8. Distillates minus 2.2, and the EIA is forecast or projected to show a build of 500,000 barrels in crude. Demand is good. The United States demand for products is 3% higher in 2018 than it was in 2017. So the economy is strong. People are driving. People are flying. People are shipping goods. The issue, as always, is supply versus demand. And right now, pretty safely say that the market's oversupplied, with the hope that economic growth will soak up the excess production, and that Saudi Arabia and Russia and OPEC will show some constraint on their production. Since the 1970s, OPEC has pretty much exploited and taken advantage of the market every time they've gotten a chance. It'd be nice to see OPEC have to suck it up and maybe curtail their production. We'll see if that happens. 65 to 65 and a quarter, sell one. 65.50, 65.75, sell two. On the buy side, 64 and a quarter, 64.50, buy one. And 63.75, 64, buy two. We have the EIA report. We look for maybe 30 or 40 ticks before the news hits. Then, depending on the news, we can have extreme volatility, or things could be pretty quiet. It always gets down to the news. So we'll try to get a trade-off. And on the news, show you what a newsday trade looks like. Okay, to the Emini. Facebook is what it is. There really isn't anything that they're being called for right now that hasn't been known for a long time, and people have been aware of it for a long time. They come in and they mine your Facebook page and comments for data about you, and then they resell it to marketers out there. And it's very, very sophisticated. A lot of the stuff that they tout that they're able to do is debatable, but it's where marketers, the large Fortune 1,500, where the large marketers go to start these days, and that and Google. And so right now, people are all aghast about the data that they, quote unquote, track and mine and keep on everybody. And if you don't want them to do it, don't get on Facebook. The solution's pretty simple. But anyway, that's 37 governors now are after Facebook. They want to see what the hell's going on. So, and I would dare say some of those 37 governors probably went to Facebook to get data on potential voters for their elections. So go figure. After a trend day, the tendency is to pause. The market will be looking for resistance. It usually involves a probe higher. And just off the charts, you can see 47, 38. We're above the second letter ledge right here. We've got volume at basically 25 to 30, so this is where the volume is. We've got a dent at 35. So my guess is that we're going to get above the Globex session. The first trade will be a short, and if we don't take out this bottom right here, consolidation for end of the week, end of the month, end of the quarter, the Easter holiday will take place. Not a lot of incentive for money managers to get out there and bang on the market and take it lower today nor tomorrow. So if we are going to have selling, it's got to start early. The news, GDP 2.7. Started off with a lot of estimates. We're going to have 5% GDP for the first quarter. Seen it as low as 1.5%. So we're not out of the first quarter yet. So these are revisions for preceding ones. So I don't think GDP is going to have a lot of impact on the market, but it could. It's the major piece of news this morning. 2.3% on the deflator, minus 74B on international trade, and pending home sales plus 3%. So GDP would be the first take, maybe pending home sales the second. Okay, I think we're going to try to trade it a little higher right here. So we'll try 29s, 34s for sell 1 and 39, 44s for sell 2. On the buy side, make it 11 to 16, give it a little bit of room, come back down, and then 1 to 6. I'm guessing we probably won't break it today. That we'll probably find buyers on weakness, but that remains to be seen. Okay, it's going to take a bit to get everything up and published. I'm going to get busy on that. I will be back with you as soon as possible in a bit.